Alright, hello! Day 2 of revisiting my top 10 primary weapons video, and at number 9 spot, I had the Strun Prime. So this weapon pretty much got a lot better as it progressed through the updates and everything. And it wasn't due to any heavy meta changes, but more of the fact that more and more things kind of got discovered for it, and more things started to adapt with it, and it just retained to be a really strong weapon. So the best build you can go about it, by far, is this one. It's not even close to the second one, because here you provided a blast build that is also viral in electricity on the 48 multi-shot, by the way, because of this ribbon, primary fire, and 788% status chance. So this is a very strong build, and if that wasn't enough, we can slap in primary crux as well, so we can have even more of that. So this does help. Obviously, crux is absolutely godlike on the primary fire, but less insane on the actual encounter form. But the encounter form already does so much damage that even if you don't benefit from the ammo efficiency from here and you only get the status chance, that is still more than good enough to apply for it. Now, I will show you a second build after, which is specific to another Wisp, and I've showed before, but I'm first gonna showcase the regular build on another just casual Grineer mission probably. So this build and this Strun Prime, you know, you could all pretty much know it. You all know what it's gonna be like. This weapon is ridiculous, and you have an encounter evolution of this weapon, which I forgot to show. I will show after the mission because I forgot that when you kill someone affected by an electricity status, you get your ammo back directly from your magazine, similar to how the autocore works. So there is a high chance that if you don't kill enemy with the instant bullet that you kill him, you see now I went from 8 to 10 bullets again, so in theory you could just keep shooting this and not run out of ammo ever with the primary fire, which is absolutely incredible for a shotgun like this. So, you know, this is the primary version of the autocore essentially when you use it like this. And if you ever run out of ammo, you just swap to the encounter form and just go ham on that instead. And the encounter form has a very neat interaction where if you aim, it's accurate, but if you don't aim, it's inaccurate, and it covers a way larger area of effect in order to spread its AoE capabilities. So really good overall. Also, my Kavad is doing the thing again. Let's stop it because, you know, I don't want to do that. I want it to be normal. But yeah, overall the Strun was insane, still is insane. Would it retain the number 9 spot? Probably, and if it didn't, then it would be even higher than number 9. Depending on if I did redid the list and how I would redo the list. Overall, this is still an incredible weapon, and somehow I'm getting headshots by doing that. I don't know how I'm getting headshots, but I'm not complaining. Anyways, back to doing that for a second. So yeah, pretty neat. When you get to high level, this actual primary fire becomes a lot stronger, so very cool in my opinion. Like, ridiculously cool. And then the encounter form, obviously, you know, it fucks, so nothing to be said for that. If you like the Ogres, the encounter form of this weapon is kinda similar to that, but without the Nightwatch Napalm. So I don't see why you would ever hate it, but yeah. Tons of electricity, tons of AoE. Really good damage. And you know, the autocore factor here that you get with this weapon, that you can just keep shooting and shooting and shooting on its primary fire, it is really cool. It is something that I don't see many people talk about, and it's a very underrated fact about this weapon. A lot of people really like the autocore because of the crits, the auto targeting, and basically the infinite ammo that you get from it. And infinite ammo is something that not a lot of people tend to understand how broken it is on some weapons. And you only really realize it once you use Arcane Pistolier a lot. But for a weapon like the Strun that has it innately, or the weapon like the Oticore, you can really see how it can be completely broken on these weapons for sure. So I'm gonna keep these last 4 bullets. I don't think I need any more. Oh, maybe I did. The first 3 bullets did a lot more damage than before. I don't know what that was about, but it was regardless really strong still. But yeah, very cool build. A lot of focus on the dots instead of the actual damage that you get on a build like this, because of the amount of electricity that it has. And obviously with this build you could go something like purple shards to increase this electricity proc even more than it already is. Like, if I find an Eximus unit and I can shoot it, so I can show you the amount of procs that this weapon can get, then you can clearly see the potential. But until then, we're just gonna kind of one-tap everything, sadly. I kind of want to find an Eximus and just hit him directly. There we go. My God, don't do anything. So that's 49 procs and 1 million damage on the dot when he got armor stripped by Rakavat. So, and that is on the body shots. It is pretty crazy, but I think the second build is even better. But it does take more. You need way more investment. It does take way more investment. And you will see why, but it is definitely worth trying at least once. So for the second build, I will need to swap from this Wisp to wait, this one? Yes, this Wisp. This Wisp has the infamous, for me at least, primary status chance shards. These shards are by far the most underrated shards in the entire game. Because, you know, people always say about parkour velocity and casting speed, but people have started catching on to these. But these are still just left in the dark completely. These are completely overpowered. And if we go to the Strun Prime now, and we check the same build we had before, we will see that this build now has 1100% status chance. But it gets better, because we're on Wisp. And we can do this now. We can go pure heat damage instead, which allows us to get a bit less of a status chance, but way more hit than what we would get on electricity here, resulting in overall more damage and resulting in crazy amount of heat procs per projectile at around 600% heat percent versus the 400%, 500% electricity. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it does add up completely. So this is a magnetic and heat build for the Strun, and for the actual on-firing +5 base multi-shot stacks up to 5 times, but this is the one that I was talking about, the galvanic reload. On hitting a target with electricity status, 40% chance to restore 1 round in magazine from ammo pool. Now this, you may say with this build it's not very useful, but magnetic does actually apply an electricity proc when destroying the overguard of an enemy, so it's still useful. And then we have the base status chance stuff, of course, because this increases the encounter form to a ludicrous, like, 200% almost. I don't even remember. It's something completely stupid. But yeah, this build right here, pure heat and a magnetic mode. And of course prime counterbalance, because we're going to be using this Wisp. And this Wisp has critical surge, which increases and it compensates for the fact that we don't have any crit mode on my primary, on the Strun. Arcane tempo and arcane rage to further increase the damage. And then we can go with either a Roar or a Zada or an Energized Munitions, depending on what we want. I will use Roar because I think it's the funniest, and let's just showcase it at its maximum capacity. So with this build and this setup specifically, the build gets stupidly strong, like ridiculously strong. Not only because you have way more upfront damage, like when you hit someone it does even more damage than before because of the extra crit chance from the Wisp tree and the augment. But more importantly, the electricity or the heat procs this time, they are way more. They are so much that they become overwhelming for the enemies and you literally get 50 million dots. So again, the bad thing about this build is that it's very squishy, so I have to be a bit more careful. But that's no big deal. So you see I hit one and, well, 69 hit procs? 90? You know, just dead, whatever. 400 very quickly on a lot of people. And then you just use your crit to get your crit chance back and you just keep it. So with this build, yes, it might seem like it does less damage in general for some people that are not experienced, but those heat procs are absolutely brutal. And then you can add a Darzakavad, then that gives you the extra 60% crit chance, like mine has, and yeah, it really just goes. Also, it turns you blind. I'm sorry about that. It's really funny though. I gotta be honest, this is one of the more fun setups to run for your Strun. And if we are talking about damage and how much DPS you can deal, this is by far the best thing you can go for DPS on the Strun Prime. The amount of status chance is so underrated and it adds up to so much damage that it genuinely becomes unfair. Also, the augment itself, in case you guys don't know, it lowers the energy consumption of your third ability by 50%. So even if you run a negative efficiency build, your energy cost is actually not that bad on the third ability, as you can see. So here's the next moose, 86 procs, 1.1 million. Not even hitting him directly, just shooting someone next to him. If I hit him directly, it's gonna be even worse. I kind of want to find one Eximus unit and just hit him directly, showcase what happens there, but it's not gonna be easy to find that. Okay, that heavy gunner was shot once and he had 171 hit procs, by the way. You know, just pointing things out here. Not glazing, I'm just pointing things out, okay? 171 hit procs are a bit much in one bullet. And it's quite funny, in my opinion at least. I don't know about you, I find it quite funny. And I think it's also overpowered as fuck. Considering that this weapon with a Darzakavad and the Wisp buff can orange crit consistently, and it has, or red crit, you know, on its encounter form, and it has over 1000% status chance. Yeah, I added 100 procs to this guy and he took like 16 million damage. I don't know. That was without roar as well, or the third ability augment. Damn. Yeah, it kind of just melts anything. It also, because the actual impact damage isn't as much, it's like pretty much similar but a tiny bit less. Especially if you don't use the actual... Oh shit. We got a dash. Okay, that was 300 hitbox. Anyways, as I was saying, if you are not using the augment, right? Because you have less crit chance, the initial impact will be less. If you are using the third ability, the initial impact will be more. But that also means that you can... Oh, there we go. Excellent. Let me take this and this. Shoot this guy once for good measure. Amen. 86 and 8 million damage, just like that. So that was a good showcase of what it's capable of, if I'm being real. But yeah, because the heat dots are doing most of the damage, this makes it easier for this weapon to also stack its encounter point. Because a lot of people complain about this weapon that it is so good and it does so much damage that you can't even charge the encounter point. And here, if you are just patient and you don't use the augment, then you can actually stack it pretty easily. It still hurts, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't do damage. It still does a lot of damage, but it's at least more manageable, you know? A tiny bit. But yeah, this build is pretty crazy. And no, this Wisp build is not just made for the Strun Prime. It's just really, really good on the Strun Prime itself. This Wisp build can work with any primary weapon you want, and it's probably gonna make it 1,000 times better. So yes, I do recommend people to actually make this build. If you like gun buffing with Wisp, then yes, absolutely go for this build. But at the same time, be wary that it is squishy, and if you want your Wisp to be tanky and not die as much if you're not experienced with her, then my main build is probably a better idea with the armor shards here. Regardless of that, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It is a work of art, if I may say so. The moment I tested it and I realized how overpowered it was, I was genuinely surprised by the result. And this Wisp build definitely kind of deviated my results for a lot of the weapons and how strong they actually were, or how strong they could get. But Stalta still remained #1, because Stalta with this Wisp build is a guaranteed damage cap every shot. It is sadly the truth, so we'll get to that, but don't worry. So the next weapon will probably be the Strun Prime. If it's not the Strun Prime, it will be the weapon that I was talking about on yesterday's video, where I said, oh, there is another AoE weapon that does more damage than the Tonkor now per shot, you know, because Tonkor's main thing and why it was so good was that it was the strongest one in terms of damage per bullet as an AoE weapon, and it also had a lot of bullets to spare, so you would never run out. But there is one weapon that is now probably better at that. It's mainly due to the changes for Blast and the way Slash procs work, because they increase the enemy health but decrease their armor to compensate and nerf Slash. But you'll see it. You can probably figure it out already. If you haven't, then you'll see it for sure. It's either gonna be tomorrow's video or the video after. Regardless of that, I hope these videos are entertaining and they teach you a lot, or they probably give you an idea of how to build certain weapons and how much you can min-max them depending on what you want to do. And I will continue to post these as much as I can in order to fill the blank on the old screenshot stuff that I used to take with light shots, because I didn't have anything better. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.